7:05 on February 10th, 2026 with a roll call. Commissioner Bennett,
Here.
Commissioner Botello,
Here.
Commissioner Fuchs,
Here.
Commissioner Hall,
Here.
Commissioner James,
Here.
Commissioner Jowdy is absent. Commissioner O'Neill,
Here.
Commissioner Trotta is absent. Commissioner Nejam,
Here.
Commissioner Novus,
Here.
Commissioner O'Laughlin,
Here.
and I'm Chairman Haddad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Numbers work. Commissioner Nejam, would you please sit in for the entire evening for Commissioner Jowdy?
Love to.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Laughlin, would you please sit in for Commissioner Trotta for the entire evening?
I'd be happy to.
Thank you very much. The next regular meeting is scheduled for February 24th, 2026. If we can all stand, if everyone has their flags, feel free to raise them while we do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of
The
the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with
with liberty
and
and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. I'm just gonna do a visual. Ms. Reed, help me out on this. Do I have enough people here tonight to accept last week's minutes or last meeting's minutes?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, those that were here can vote on. Everyone got a copy of the January 27, 2026 minutes? It's published record and was in everybody's packet. Is there a motion to accept the minutes of January 27, 2026? Motion made by Commissioner Nejam. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by
Second.
Commissioner Hall. Any discussion? Deletions, additions, modifications? Not hearing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed. Minutes are accepted unanimously. There's no public hearings this evening. There is a continuation of a public hearing. However, before we do that, let me read into the record the legal notice for this evening. Pursuant to Chapter 14, Sections 1-228 and 1-229 of the Connecticut General Statutes as amended, the public hearing regarding the following petition was adjourned and continued by order of the Zoning Commission of the City of Danbury to the 10th day of February 2026 to be held on a Zoom platform at 7 p.m. Petition of Salem Plaza LLC to amend Sections 5A2, 5A5, and 11B3 of the zoning regulations. Agenda to be posted will include instructions on how to access the Zoom meeting or to view the meeting in real time on YouTube. Theodore J. Haddad Jr. Chairman, posted on the city website, Town Clerk's office on January 28, 2026. Published in the News Times on Friday, January 30th, 2026. Purchase order number 2026-002. This agenda was filed in the town clerk's office on Thursday, February 5th, 2026 at 5:34 p.m. Virtual Zoom meeting introduction. This meeting of the Danbury Zoning Commission is being held on Zoom as a virtual meeting. Even though this meeting is a virtual meeting, members of the public and interested parties continue to have the opportunity to participate in the meeting in a couple of different ways. You can participate via Zoom and see the audio and the video, or you can call in by phone and participate via audio only. Please be aware that we may have to mute your microphone or telephone to avoid an echo or some other background noise. This is also being streamed live via YouTube. Instructions on how to participate in the meeting appear on the City of Danbury website. And all of the documents and materials that apply to the matters to be discussed during this meeting, including the agenda, are also available on the City of Danbury website. As always, if you have any questions, please contact the City of Danbury Planning and Zoning Department. As a reminder, the entire meeting will be posted on and can be seen on the City of Danbury website. We will follow the posted agenda as per standard practice. If prior to the meeting, any questions or comments on the agenda items were submitted via email to Director Al-Bakri, those comments will be read during the appropriate portion of the meeting. Finally, please remember that technology glitches sometimes do occur. Please be patient if that happens. Okay, regarding the procedure of the meeting, I'm going to call in, I usually call in the public hearing, but here we're going to be calling in the continuation of the public hearing. We're going to have a couple documents read, the 8-3A Planning Commission recommendation and the 8-3B WestCog recommendation, and any other documents that are appropriate, including the Planning Department staff report. Once that is completed, we're going to ask commission members only if they have any questions on the content of the reports that were written. Then we are going to go to those wishing to speak in favor of the petition. It's generally the petitioner or their attorney. They're going to make a presentation. I'm going to call on commission members to see if there's any questions of the attorney or that representative at that time. I'm then going to ask if there's anybody else in favor of the petition. And then I'm going to go to those wishing to speak in opposition to the petition. I'm going to give the petitioner or their attorney time to rebut if they'd like any comments that may have been heard during those that were speaking in opposition. I'm going to ask commission members if they have any questions. I'm going to go to the director for final closing remarks. And at that time, a couple things may happen. We will either continue the public hearing, waiting for more information, or we will close the public hearing at that time. So let me get to where I'm going to go. And I'm going right now to the 8-3A referral. It's a petition of Salem Plaza LLC to amend sections 5A2, 5A5, and 11B3 of zoning regulations. It's dated January 12th, 2026. It's the Theodore J. Haddad Jr. Chairman, Danbury Zoning Commission. This is from Arnold E. Finaldi Jr., Chairman of the Danbury Planning Commission. At the web-based Zoom meeting held on January 7, 2026, the City of Danbury Planning Commission voted to give the above referenced petition a negative recommendation for the following reasons. This would be reversing the previous decision to remove this from the commercial zones, and this is not consistent with the Plan of Conservation and Development, POCD. The motion for a negative recommendation was made by Mrs. Hofstadter, seconded by Mr. Chioccio, and passed unanimously by voice vote with 3 ayes from Mr. Chioccio, Mrs. Hofstadter, and Chairman Finaldi. This is going to go back over here. This is going to go over here. Regarding the 8-3B referral, it was requested of them from our department, and it says, "Good morning," from Tucker Beckett to Joanne Reed. Thank you for submitting the attached referral to WestCog. The opinion of regional staff is that the proposed amendment is primarily of local interest with minimal intermunicipal impact. All my best, Tucker. That's dated December 30th, 2025. How come I didn't put that over here? We approved the minutes, right? Yes, we did. That goes from left to right. Director, would you please talk about your staff report?
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm going to share my screen.
Absolutely.
Please allow me access here. You should have received it, did you? Okay.
Director, we're up. We got you.
Great. Okay.
Thank you.
So we received an application from Mr. Beecher, and the gist of it is that the applicant would like to ask for amendment to the zoning regulation to allow what I call as a limited self-storage in an existing warehouse in the CG20 district. CG is the general commercial. Before I actually talk about the details, I would like to remind you about what the Zoning Commission did last year. If you recall, there were many changes or amendments to the zoning regulations, among which there was one amendment to limit self-storage only in IL40 and IG80, which are our industrial districts, and not allowing it in other parts of the city. And the reason is, if you recall, is we had a workshop, actually maybe 2 workshops, and we were talking about the significant inventory of warehouses in the city, and it appeared that it's kind of I would call it a business of convenience. A lot of people actually would like to have it anywhere because usually you don't end up hiring a lot of folks, and there's not a lot of maintenance associated with self-storage. From our standpoint as a city, yes, you can have it in industrial areas. However, you don't want to have a huge inventories everywhere in the city. As a reminder, the same two pictures that I have here on the slide, we talked about last year too, during the zoning amendment. So why am I talking about what we did last year? The reason is it's related to what we have tonight. So as we speak now, the CG20 district does not allow and never allowed for self-storage. And before I go into details, I would like to mention here, what we see in the slide is self-storage. This is the conventional self-storage, meaning it's one business, all of it is self-storage. What the applicant would like to do is to have a percentage of an site to allow for self-storage. As we speak, it's not allowed. And the applicant, as submitted, is asking for up to 15% of all the floor area in an existing building or buildings to be used as self-storage. The slide here you see is the legal language that was submitted. I am going to actually use the simplified version. I believe you can see it now. So the simplified version of what the applicant is asking for is as follows. The applicant is saying if you have a lot of minimum 5 acres and it has an existing building or buildings that are legally used as a warehouse, and the total square footage of the self-storage is not going to be more than 15%, and vehicle access is from an arterial street, and the lot is close to IL40 or IG80 zone, then a portion of that building or building could be used for self-storage. That's in a nutshell what the applicant is asking for. And also they are saying, well, it's not going to be more than that because they are adding a provision saying in the future, if the application as submitted is approved, there will be no variances for any of the provisions that I mentioned before. So basically the applicant is saying, well, you should actually have some confidence that if it's approved, it cannot be bigger than what it is. As you know, when we talk about any application, usually we talk about the plan of conservation and development. As you can see, the application as submitted is very targeted. Yes, it could be used in more than one location, but highly unlikely it will be applied in many areas. That's why there's not specific policy in our POCD, the plan of conservation and development, that speaks directly to the application. However, I would like to remind you, as I mentioned before, last year, the Planning Commission and the Zoning Commission adopted changes not to allow for self-storage outside of the industrial area. That sums up what I wanted to say about this application, and I am happy to open the floor for discussions if you have any questions, or if you like, you can wait for any questions until after the applicant had a chance to explain where he is coming from. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. If we could take that screen share down, I'd appreciate it.
Give me a second.
Yeah, sure. Take your time.
Okay, well, all good.
Yeah, commission members, I don't know if anybody wants to ask of the director of any questions of his presentation this evening, or if you want to wait a little bit later. Let me just give a couple matters of housekeeping for the commission members. A CG20 zone is a general commercial. CA80 is commercial arterial. And that was referenced in the just the slide presentation that we just saw. Commission members, any questions now, or do you want to hold off? Commission members, any questions? Director, thank you. We'll get back to you on the next turnaround. So let me ask, is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this petition? I see the hand of Attorney Tom Beecher. Attorney Beecher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening,
Absolutely.
everyone. My name's Tom Beecher, and I'm an attorney at the Collins Hannafin firm, and I'm representing Salem Plaza LLC. And with me this evening is Albert Salem. Salem Plaza owns, of course, makes sense, Salem Plaza located at 127 to 131 West Street. This property is over 5.5 acres, and it's located in the CG20 zone, as has been discussed. This is a mixed-use property with 6 buildings, and as you drive into the property, there's an office building on the right, which includes the Social Security office. On the left, when you drive in, is another office building, followed by the Hillside Outreach facility, which operates out of another building. The Office of Veterans Affairs is to the far back if you drive all the way into the back of the property. There's also lab space in one building, and there's unused warehouse space in 2 buildings. The total of the building footprint, meaning the building coverage, is 77,551 square feet. We're here tonight just to discuss a regulation, and specifically for us, one particular old warehouse space. Well, let me see if I can show you some photos. So this is a photo looking at the warehouse space on the right of the screen, and you're looking back towards West Street. This is a photo looking directly at the particular warehouse space we would like to use for self-storage units within the building.
Mr. Chairman, I don't see any, I see a bunch of little pictures, but I'm not seeing the pictures as he's describing them.
Yeah, Attorney Beecher, we're seeing thumbnails. Were you intending on showing thumbnails, or did you have a way to show the bigger picture?
Well, I'm trying to show the big picture.
Oh, we're taking a look at your folder with the thumbnails inside.
Well, that's too bad.
Double click.
Double click.
I did.
Huh. We're not getting it.
Well, that's too bad.
How about right click and open?
Right click and open.
Still nothing, right?
No, it's spinning around. It's making a circle. Huh. Crazy.
Well, okay then.
All right.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. We'll squint.
Well, that's not really the ideal way to do it. So I'll just come back.
I've
Go
never
back away.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah, me neither. It says my screen sharing has been paused.
Screen sharing has been paused.
Yeah. Well, I apologize. In any event, I don't know if anybody had a chance to drive in, but it's a nice looking brick building on the left, but it's an old warehouse building that is just sort of outdated. The old warehouse space was opened in 1962 and was the home of Dandy Distributors, which was a produce wholesale and distribution business. Albert tells me that the building was modeled after the market terminal buildings in New Haven for Dandy Distributors. And Dandy operated out of this building until 1998. Thereafter, it was Watson of Danbury, which was a pharmaceutical company, used the space, then Danbury Pharmaco. The space is a challenge to lease these days because the ceiling's only 14 feet high. And the loading bays are elevated for direct loading onto box trucks, which was originally designed for Dandy distributors. But the space is outdated now and needs a new use. Its location in this area of the city near the infamous low railroad track trestle is less than ideal for warehouse use. And after marketing the space now for quite a while, my client looked at other potential users and had numerous discussions with a company that retrofits old spaces in existing buildings, just like this one, for indoor storage units. This was reviewed and vetted, and the result is that such a use does not need any visible changes to the exterior of the building. So this facility does not need to look any different than it does now with the brick facade, as I hope to show you in the pictures. The floor plan is for 1 story only of units inside the building for storage. And that would be it. Mr. Salem met with the representatives of the company on site, and they totally looked at it. And this company has extensive experience in doing this type of retrofit of storage units into existing buildings. And this site on West Street is near residential neighborhoods, which means that there's a very real micro market right in this area for the storage units. Kennedy Flats is only 2 or 3 blocks away. There's another housing complex on Benedict Avenue, and there's various neighborhoods within the vicinity of this particular area of Danbury. Let me talk about our specific regulation proposal. This proposed amendment is the end result of numerous conversations that I had with Waleed, that Waleed had with both myself and Mr. Salem, and a lot of collaboration between Waleed and myself in coming up with these specific requirements that we put into the proposed regulation. Waleed was understanding of our plight, although he's remained neutral throughout in terms of this particular proposal. Salem Plaza is a mixed-use property with over 124,500 square feet of gross floor area, which is important. Our proposed regulation is narrowly tailored and will only apply in unique situations such as ours. It requires that there be a minimum lot size of 5 acres for this use to be in the CG20. And normally in the CG20, a minimum lot size is just 20,000 square feet, which is less than half an acre. So as you can see, this requires a substantial amount of property in the CG20 as a threshold for even considering this type of a use. Under our proposal, the storage units must be in an existing building that was previously used as a warehouse, as recognized by the Planning and Zoning Department. The gross floor area dedicated to the storage units can be no more than 15% of the overall gross floor area on the property. As I said, the gross floor area for this particular site is 124,500 square feet. Using the minimum maximum the maximum storage units floor area can be no more than 18,675 square feet out of that 124,500 square feet. The particular warehouse that we'd like to use for this use is actually only going to be 15,000 square feet, so not even that maximum. The proposed regulation further requires that site access must be from an arterial street, and West Street is an arterial road. The subject site must abut industrial property, not just merely be close, as Waleed said, but the site must actually abut an industrial piece of property in either the IL40 or the IG80 zone. This particular property abuts the IL40 zone to the north. The building housing the self-storage use shall not directly face a public street. And in this case, you can see if you drive in that the building faces to the side. The proposal also prohibits any variances for any of these specific requirements, so that somebody can't say, well, we're only 200 feet from the arterial road, so we'd like a variance. Well, a variance is prohibited. You have to be at least 250 feet. This particular use has to be at least 250 feet back from the public road. And lastly, this conversion use will still require a special exception from the Planning Commission. So obviously, this regulation will only apply to a unique existing site with a large or series of large existing buildings. And I would also point out that personal storage units is a low traffic use. I mean, people don't typically go and visit their stuff in these units every week. Commissioner O'Neill, I believe, last time asked how many sites in the CG20 zone have over 5 acres of land and have enough gross floor area to make this use worthwhile, or a similar question. We took a look at that, and our homework is that not many would qualify, if any. There are, I believe, only 20 properties in the CG20 zone in the city with 5 acres or more of land, and none of those have any warehouse other than ours. I only found 4 properties in the CG20 zone that were over 2 acres that did have warehouse use associated with the property. But it's unlikely that those properties could otherwise qualify. I didn't look to see if those particular properties abutted industrial zoned property. So this is a narrowly tailored proposal that applies to a unique property with over 5 acres of land and over 124,000 square feet of gross floor area. And that's okay. This commission has looked favorably on other regulations with very limited applicability. As I said to this commission in relation to other project proposals, this is a proposal that allows for the appropriate reuse and reimagination of a building that has become obsolete in this day and age. One example of that was the Summit building. The changes to the PND regulations to accommodate mixed uses in the 1.2 million square foot Summit building is a huge example of this commission having the vision to allow a change in the regulations in order to allow reuse and reimagination to take a dinosaur building and give it new life. No other property in Danbury qualified for that particular proposal and changes to the regulation. Excuse me. There's quite a few other instances where this commission has had the vision to approve other similar narrowly tailored regulation changes. This commission allowed a narrow change in the IO40 regulations to allow a new Mercedes car dealership, as long as the site was within 1,000 feet of another car dealership located in the CG20 zone. Auto dealerships are not otherwise permitted in the IO40 zone, but in this particular case, if you're in the IO40 zone, but you're within 1,000 feet of an existing car dealer in CG20 zone, it was okay. And that was a very narrowly tailored regulation change that this commission approved. And the new dealership's beautiful. And it's built next to other car dealerships, and it fits right in. So it was an appropriate decision. And speaking of Myrie Brook Road, this commission adopted a new regulation in 2023 to allow limited sales of high-end cars in the IL40 zone for the North American Motor Car Company. Again, car sales are not otherwise allowed in the IL40 zone, but this was a very narrowly tailored zoning amendment, as are all of the examples I'm giving you tonight. Last year, you approved a regulation change in the CA80 zone that allowed for a very narrowly focused type of light manufacturing in the commercial zone, which assisted a facility owned by Blackstone Industries to relocate to Prindle Lane off of Mill Plain Road. For that use, as you may recall, the required minimum lot size was 3 acres. In 2019, the commission adopted a very limited use and definition for transitional housing facilities in the residential high-rise zone to allow the Women's Center of Greater Danbury to be built on Rose Hill Avenue. In 2016, the commission adopted a narrowly tailored continuing care facility regulation to allow the Keystone Place Assisted Living Facility to be located at the top of Worcester Heights in the IL-40 zone, where it wasn't otherwise allowed, with some very narrow constraints. And this commission adopted a narrowly tailored amendment to the CA80 zone to allow the transformation of the old Crown Plaza Hotel into meaningful and affordable housing in the city of Danbury. So this commission has used its legislative power in forward-thinking manner to allow for retrofitting existing buildings and reimagined uses of certain properties. And this commission has been forward-thinking in allowing certain narrowly tailored amendments that pose little risk of over-application throughout a zone. This type of regulation is an appropriate approach to adaptive reuse of existing large buildings on large properties, and therefore would be beneficial to the city as well as to my client. This proposal does not impact health, safety, or welfare in the city of Danbury. What's adaptive reuse? It's a planning concept which promotes the reuse and reimagination of existing buildings for a purpose or purposes other than what those buildings were originally built for. It's the repurposing and the rejuvenation of obsolete buildings. Adaptive reuse is a smart growth and sustainability opportunity because adaptive reuse is a tool to avoid demolition, avoid extensive site disturbance or environmental impact, and urban sprawl. Isn't it better in numerous ways not to have to tear down and rebuild a large building if the building itself can be repurposed? Our proposed regulation amendment seeks to allow adaptive reuse or retrofitting of an obsolete and underutilized industrial building on a very large site. It's reuse and repurposing what you already have. It's a form of urban recycling, and we should all embrace it. This commission has broad legislative power in looking at and adopting regulation amendments, as well as in repealing them. And the Connecticut statutes give this commission that power and authority. Now, as Waleed mentioned, the Planning Commission gave this a negative referral. There were only 3 commissioners present that evening, and under Danbury's procedures, the applicant and I are not permitted to speak at that proceeding. The important result of that negative referral is that, as I pointed out last time, if this commission sees fit to approve this regulation change, by statute, we need 6 affirmative votes from this commission, not a simple majority. But this commission has in the past approved regulation changes despite a negative referral. Now let me talk about consistency with the Plan of Conservation and Development. When you act legislatively as a zoning commission, you certainly also look at thoughtful planning as part of your review of a zone change or regulation change. Strategy number 6 of the POCD encourages flexibility in the commercial zoning regulations, such as the CG20 zone, to respond to current and future market conditions. Uses for a terminal-style single-story warehouse space is dried up, and that leaves behind a skeleton that needs a new type of use that will not require tearing down the structure, but rather will allow that space to be retrofitted for a bright and productive new life. Honestly, this regulation is so narrowly focused, it will not have any impact on the POCD one way or the other. It's not creating any type of policy shift inconsistent with the POCD, as Waleed pointed out. In other words, this is not impacting the purpose and intent of the CG20 zone because it's only 5 acres out of the entire zone, with the slim likelihood that any other property would qualify or even want this use on their particular property. And as Waleed pointed out in his report, our proposal may be viewed more as a site-specific solution rather than any broad policy shift. So along those lines, I recognize that last October 14th, this commission took self-storage out of the CA80 zone regulations entirely. And I appreciate that there may be some people that think there's an over-proliferation of self-storage facilities in the city of Danbury, and maybe a dislike for how they look as well. However, allowing them throughout a zone or the actual look of these new self-storage big box buildings that have been built is apples and oranges compared to our proposal to retrofit the storage units into an existing building without the need for any exterior changes to the building or the look of the building. And again, this applies in very limited instances. Our proposal is to use an existing brick warehouse building on property abutting industrial land. Under limited circumstances where this would be applicable, this proposed use is a transitional use between that industrial zone that abuts this property and this property itself. That is good planning. It's a transitional use. Approving this regulation is therefore simply not contrary to your policy decision with respect to widely eliminating self-storage facilities from the CA80 zone. I would also point out that Salem Plaza's interest in this warehouse conversion use and our discussions with Waleed began well before October of last year when this commission took that use out of the CA80 zone. I began my discussions with Waleed back in May of last year, and Waleed met with Mr. Salem and myself last July to see the facility and learn more about our proposal. And Waleed was very helpful in suggesting some specific requirements as you see in this proposal you have before you. We ultimately filed our petition on October 7th. So I just wanted to point that out because this idea didn't come up after you had taken that step last October to prohibit the self-storage units in the CA80 zone. But in any event, like I said, this is apples and oranges. This isn't allowing this property to be demoed and put up a brand new multi-story big box self-storage facility. This is taking 15,000 out of 124,500 square feet of an existing building over 300 feet from the road for this particular use. So in conclusion, we're asking you to allow this minor flexibility here. Again, it's very limited in its applicability. So through you, Mr. Chairman, I would just ask if Mr. Salem had anything he might want to add at this point in time.
Absolutely. Mr. Salem, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
As if anyone that's from Danbury would know, the building was actually built in the late 50s as a replica of basically the New Haven market. It's a narrow, long building, very low ceilings. And modern warehouses are mostly very high cube, dimensional in the sense that they're pretty proportionate, almost square, very, very limited in rectangular space. The other thing is that, one of the things the Planning Commission had mentioned is that they had never seen a building that was retrofit. I want to mention that where U-Haul is, that used to be a First National grocery store, which is now self-storage as well as truck rental, which is not even a quarter of a mile from where our facility is, and that's direct road frontage, whereas ours is, as Attorney Beecher said, 300 feet back. There's going to be no noticeable changes to the building, and what they would be, for those that are familiar with the single story, they're basically 10 by 10 by 100, and they are, maximum height is 11 feet, which will fit under the 14-foot clearance. And they are 100 feet long, which fit in the building. The building is roughly 60 by 150. So it's a very narrow, long building, not practical for warehousing. And that is the reason why back in 1998, we moved the Dandy Distributor business out of there to Mill Plain Road, the bigger building that we had, which was a higher cube. We've exhausted our possibilities of trying to lease it to any viable warehouse or manufacturing or any of the above. And this was probably the best use with the least amount of impact that we could come up with. So if you guys, honestly consider, rather than having to tear the building down, we're really at an impasse as far as practicality for the use of the facility.
Thank you. If you would, Mr. Salem, just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Albert J. Salem III, 4 Navajo Drive, and it's spelled Navaho, Brookfield, Connecticut.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman.
Commission members, while we have Mr. Salem, any questions of Mr. Salem, commission members? And then I'll ask you if you have any questions of the presentation of Attorney Beecher. Commission members, I don't see any hands. I don't hear any voices. Thank you, Mr. Salem.
You're welcome, Chairman.
Attorney Beecher, did you have anything else you want to?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes our presentation. We thank you all for your consideration, and I would just ask you to please consider granting this application.
Thank you. Commission members, anything of Attorney Beecher at this time, commission members?
Yes.
I see Commissioner Botello. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you for the floor. Attorney Beecher, I just wanted a little clarification here. I'm looking at the petition to amend the zoning regulation application, and I'm reading it, and it says applicant proposes these amendments to permit retrofitting a self-service storage use in existing warehouse of buildings, as in plural. Is that a typo, or is that more than one building is going to be considered for warehousing?
Well, it's not a typo, Mr. Botello. We're crafting a regulation that conceivably could apply to someone else, where in our particular case, it's just that one building, but it could conceivably be someone who had 2 small warehouses and wanted to use it. But remember that you're constrained by only being allowed to use 15% of the total gross floor area of whatever's on the particular site that comes in to actually use have this self-storage use.
Okay, so this actually opens itself up to be able to use on other properties as well when you are going for an application with being someone similar in nature to what this application is.
Well, like I said, I couldn't find any properties that are likely to come close to qualifying.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Botello, if I can, let me just say that when the Attorney Beecher drafts the petition, since it's not site specific, he's basically drafting it for it's a regulation that's basically citywide and not site specific. So he put in buildings plural. In his case, they only have one building. I think the critical verbiage in this is where they lock themselves into a certain percentage of what they can do with the warehouse space. So in reality, if we were looking at a petition, it had 1 building or 2 buildings or 3 buildings. When you have that cap of 15%, I think that's more critical in the scheme of things than whether it was plural or singular for it's going to be singular for this particular parcel, but in drafting the regulation, he put down plural. Is that correct, Attorney Beecher? Did I use?
Yeah, and the other requirements, also hedge against too many properties qualifying, because remember, we're unique. You go into this site and the buildings all face each other sideways, not particularly towards the street, except for the 2 front office buildings. So not only even if it's 2 buildings, they can't face the street. And they also have to be at least 250 feet away from the street. So there's a lot of things that mitigate against this being applied anywhere else, or certainly very limited, if at all.
One other question I have between the applicant and Attorney Beecher, I went down to look at the application. Are we looking at the building that was once Chatham Oaks in the front, which was a catering hall? And this application is part of the back of that?
It is the building after it. It's the red brick building, as Attorney Beecher pointed out.
But is it
There's actually-
connected? That's connected to that long, because it seemed like
it is connected, but there's no pass through. There are concrete walls in between. So it's a separate building,
okay.
separate utilities, separate everything.
Okay, and the part of the building that was used for Chatham Oaks, is that being facilitated now, or that in use?
That is the Department of Children and Family Services.
Okay. All right,
Those are
thank you.
offices.
All right, thank you.
So everything past that building, Commissioner Botello, that's rented as office space. Everything past that, which is brick, is down to the end, which is about 150 feet down, is what is in what they are calling the brick warehouse. And if you take a look at it, it's a brick warehouse.
There's actually two buildings on the left before you get to this one.
Oh,
And all right, well, thank you.
sure. Anything else, commission members? Commission members, anything else at this time? We'll come back to you, Attorney Beecher, if there's anything to rebut. But let me also ask, is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Joanne and Ms. Reed, is anyone else on this broadcast?
No, just the commission members, Mr. Salem, Attorney Beecher, you, me, and Waleed.
Thank you. Then let me call for the public only. Is there anyone, which doesn't exist, but is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this petition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this petition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this petition? Attorney Beecher, do you want to rebut anything that you just heard?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commission members, your final shot for Attorney Beecher here. Attorney Beecher, I think I see a hand. Commissioner O'Loughlin, unmute and you have the floor.
Right, I'm muted by touching my box.
There you go.
You know, there does seem to be a lot of storage units, and the question is what financial impact will this have on existing facilities in terms of competition to make this one either succeed or not succeed, or affecting other ones?
Well, as I alluded to earlier in my presentation, I think that this particular location, is a double-edged sword. Our particular location has drawbacks where we can't really use it for warehouse space anymore. It's just outdated. But this particular location is near residential neighborhoods and some housing complexes, and therefore we're further away from most of the facilities, with the exception of the one at the U-Haul facility that Albert mentioned. But beyond that, I think that it's ripe for at least a micro market there in this particular section of the city.
Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Neill.
Okay, let me lower my hand.
You're good.
So I just want to ask or make a statement that this is almost different. Like when we removed self-storage from whatever zone, we're talking about like those big, huge buildings that had no, we didn't have anything in the regs to control what they look like. And this is like self-contained. It's not changing anything of the look of the building. So it's almost a little bit of a different animal than what we think of when we think of self-storage. I just kind of wanted to point that out and see if anyone had any personal opinions about that or input on that.
Well, I think when we first, I don't know, Director, I think we had a couple meetings first. You basically hit us bluntly saying, what do you guys here want to do in Danbury? What do you like? What do you not like? We tossed around some ideas, and one of the things we came up with were freestanding, ugly storage facilities. And then you went to work on it. I think Commissioner Botello said he talked about it and got the ball rolling on that. And the two that were the ones that you showed on that slide presentation. So Commissioner O'Neill, there's a lot of reasons that we took that out of the CA80 zone, and that is because freestanding storage buildings were popping up all over town, and especially the CA80 zone, but they are really ugly and disgusting. If you could take a facility like this that's hiding in the corner, that's brick, that's historical, it changes things. And you know, I'm glad we got those in favor and those opposed out of the off the record here because we're now down into the closing statements and the rebuttal. So let me address Commissioner O'Neill, say a couple other things. This is different. It's a shame that we removed the storage facilities only seems like moments ago from our regulations when this was right there on its heels. It was almost a matter of days before maybe they beat us to the punch. So it's a shame that it happened that way. This is a different animal in my opinion. It's a mixed use parcel. It's a different zone, although they're both commercial. I think Attorney Beecher, and don't get a big head and pat yourself on the back, Attorney Beecher, but he hit this commission right between the eyes when he took all of the historical data of this commission and how creative we have been in the past to move things along and to progress this community by allowing things like this to happen. And he cited some other quite a few instances that we've taken action on prior to and are considering this one as well. So you're correct there. And I see the director has his hands up. So let me see what's on his mind. Director? Oh, unmute if you would, Director. There you go.
Point of clarification, Mr. Chairman, if you look at the reports that I sent to the commission, you will see that I am making a distinction between what I call conventional self-storage and what we have. So I made it very clear also to the Planning Commission that what we talked about last year was the conventional self-storage, which is basically what I showed you. And the one we have here tonight is different. It's more like one use among many other uses. However, that being said, just to be clear about what the Planning Commission said, they did not see this distinction at this stage because in their view, the amendments were done last year and it would be something like that we do very quickly and it would, in their view, undermine what was done last year. That being said, also, there's one point I would like to comment on that was mentioned by Attorney Beecher. Yes, we had the discussion last year, maybe, I'm not sure, May, but what he doesn't know, by that time, we already started the discussion internally in the Zoning Commission. Yes, it was officially adopted in October 2025, but the discussion started way before. Back to you, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy to talk about any point if you need any clarifications.
You're muted, Mr. Chairman.
I cannot hear you. Teddy, you are muted.
Thank you. Sorry. Commissioner O'Neill, I just want to make sure that we addressed your concerns or your question.
Yep, I think both of you clarified it. So thank you for your input.
Thank you. Commission members, anything else at this time? Any questions of Attorney Beecher in his last statement here before we go on to the director? Commissioner members, anything else? Director, Attorney Beecher, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to react to what Waleed just said. You know, as I said, we aren't allowed to speak at the Planning Commission. And at the Planning Commission, they were not reminded at all about the very difference between this proposal and the big box proposals. And they weren't reminded at all about the laundry list that I just went through with all of you tonight about how this commission has, in fact, looked at very finely tailored regulations for a particular niche in a particular zone. So, you know, they were operating without our input, essentially. Thank you.
Thank you. Director, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, it's always the case with the Planning Commission. I know Attorney Beecher knows this. So there's not much I can do about it. However, during my presentation to the planning commission, I have pictures and I mentioned that this is what you last year decided not to include. However, which I mentioned also, what we have at hand during that meeting, I mean, the application is different.
Right, and commission members, let me also go back to another issue for the new members here. Again, this is not site specific. This means that it can go citywide. However, we have in the past, during a negotiation between the petitioner and the staff, take some of these things so as to not have a wide sweeping proliferation throughout the city. They fine tune these and they put these restrictions on. They try to zero in as neatly and as finely as possible so that it's we don't want to call it site specific, but it does narrow it down quite a bit. So the commission does not have to worry about these popping up all over. To see a 1950s 60 by 150 brick warehouse and some other site in Danbury, all of a sudden a whole bunch of them popping up and becoming warehouses isn't anything that we have to fear. So I just wanted to also point that out. Attorney Beach, are you done?
I am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Beautiful. Director, did you want to close us out? And then I'll ask for questions from commission members. Commission members, anything of the director before he closes it out? Commission members, nothing. We're good now. Director.
Thanks again, Mr. Chairman. I will repeat what I mentioned during the planning commission meeting, even though I know some of the planning commission were not really super happy about it. I'm still torn between the two sides, I would say, of the equation. I see the point of the application, and I know because I have been talking to the owner and Attorney Beecher that it's such a difficult site. And I know they have been trying hard to find a use for it. And what was done, I mean, the application was a lot of collaboration between Attorney Beecher and myself. So the way it was actually submitted, all the conditions that you have seen in the submission, it was a lot of discussions. And from my point of view, it gives you, as the zoning commission, assurance that if this application is to be approved, it wouldn't be all over the city. Yes, it's specific. I don't want to say it's very, very specific, but it's specific. So yes, it can happen somewhere else, but the likelihood of that is not really high. At the same time, as I mentioned to the planning commission, I totally understand their position, and I totally understand why they were hesitant, because in their mind, in their judgment, they didn't want to undermine what was done last year. And I understand they also didn't want to send a message that, well, hey, we do a lot of changes and we turn a blind eye and we just do not really follow them. So it's not an easy situation, but if you approve it, I'm happy. If you decide not, I'm still happy. That's all what I can say.
There you go. A neutral staff report. Commission members, anything of Director Waleed? We're not waiting on any documents or exhibits, so someone here, if they'd like, can make a motion to close this public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to close this public hearing.
Commission members, there's a motion by Commissioner Botello to close the public hearing with a second by Commissioner Nejam. Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm not seeing any hands on opposition or voices. Unanimously, this public hearing is closed. Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Chairman?
I'm sorry. I'm writing and didn't see your hand. Go ahead, Commissioner Botello. Was that you?
Yes.
Go ahead, sure.
I'd like to make a motion to place this in old business for discussion and possible action tonight.
Okay. Commission members, there is a motion by Commissioner Botello to move this to old business for discussion and possible action tonight. Number one on the agenda under that subheading. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hall. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Any opposition? No. Thank you. Commission members, tonight on our old business for discussion of possible action, we have a petition of Salem Plaza LLC to amend sections 5A2, 5A5, and 11B3 of the zoning regulations. The public hearing was opened on February 10th, 2026 at 7 p.m. and it was closed on February 10th, 2026. I don't know if anybody wants to put a motion on the floor for discussion purposes only. Commissioner Botello.
Yes, I move that the zoning commission deny this application seeking approval to permit a self-storage facility within the CG20 zoning district based upon the following findings. Number one, the commission has previously undertaken a comprehensive review of self-storage facilities within the city of Danbury and has determined that there is an existing oversupply of self-storage uses. Allowing additional self-storage facilities would be inconsistent with that finding and contrary to sound land use planning principles. Number two, the CG20 zoning district represents a limited and valuable commercial land resource intended to support commercial, employment generating, and economic development uses. The proposed self-storage use does not further the primary purpose intent of the CG20 zone. Number three, the proposal is inconsistent with the City of Danbury Plan of Conservation and POCD, which emphasizes the preservation of commercially zoned land for uses that promote economic vitality, employment opportunities, and long-term community benefit. POCD does not support the expansion of self-storage facilities within the CG20 zone properties. Number four, the applicant has not demonstrated a change in circumstances or new evidence sufficient to warrant reversing the commission's prior determination regarding the oversupply of self-storage facilities or altering the established zoning policy for CG20's properties. Number five, the market-based arguments regarding current lack of demand for warehouse or commercial space are speculative and reflect short-term economic conditions, which do not justify a permanent zoning decision that would diminish limited CG20 commercial land availability. Number six.
Oops, I'm sorry.
Number six, approval of this application would establish a precedent for similar requests on other CG20 parcels, resulting in cumulative impacts that would undermine the integrity of the city's zoning framework and long-term planning objectives. For these reasons, the commission finds that the application does not meet the standards of the zoning regulations and it is not in the best interest of the orderly development of the city and therefore should be denied. Thank you.
Thank you. Commission members, there is a motion with reasons to deny the petition by Commissioner Botello. Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion? Commissioner O'Loughlin, is your hand up?
I'll second that.
So there's a second to that motion. So we have a motion with reasons and a second. So commission members, we'll open this up for discussion. Now's the time to discuss your feelings about this. Anyone want to take any steps on that? Commissioner
I'd like to say
Nejang.
something.
Sure, go ahead, Commissioner Nejang.
Thank you, Teddy. I believe, based on what Albert Salem Properties says in regard to it's a non-conforming lot, the actual property or the actual building is not a storefront building right at the street. It's actually hidden. I think it's a revitalization of a existing building. I would have to say that I think it would be in the best interest of the city to adopt this for this particular property, and obviously with the constraints of things not popping up all over the place in the city with what they put into the regulation. I think it's a good rehab of an existing building.
Thank you. I saw somebody else had a hand up. Commissioner James, I see you. We're up.
Good.
There you go. Go ahead.
I would agree. I would hate to see a building that could have a different use be torn down because no one wants to buy it, no one wants to rent it, no one wants to use it. But now we have an alternative use for that building, and to keep it vital in that location might be beneficial to the neighborhood and to the community. I would hate to see it torn down and there just be an empty space on that property. So I think that it's a good alternative to what was there. And it does not conform with the other self-storage units that line Mill Plain Road, which is what we objected to begin with. It is a different format. And I think it would be more pleasing for the community in the format that it is right now, in terms of being a brick building and not a behemoth factory or a warehouse. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner, Commissioner Botel, let me see if
Yes. Okay.
let me see if there's anybody else who wants to say something, and I'll squeeze you back in, get somebody else new here. Anybody else, new commission members, who want to just throw something out? Any other thing from any commission members? Commissioner O'Neill.
I have to agree that I think it is a revitalization of that building. I think that it's that Attorney Beecher put together with the director a very specific criteria, that it's not going to be a proliferation all over town, that it's a benefit to the community, and that it is different. Exactly, like it's not the big box crazy things that are out on Mill Plain, and it's not going to be a visual eyesore when it's done. It's going to be something that's positive for the community.
Thank you. Anything else from any commissioners want to just throw a statement out there either way?
Mr. Commissioner, it's Bruce Bennett.
Hey, Commissioner Bennett. Yes, go ahead. Sure.
I have a couple of thoughts. One is, what I hate to see happen is that anybody has a building or a piece of land, they turn it into a storage facility, and I get the feeling that's what's happening. And I've been there, so I get that and I understand it. I would hate to see the city turn into a group of storage facilities in every building that's old, brick, or wood. I just wouldn't like to see that. The other problem or issue I have for that particular piece of property, it's very tight for parking in the front of it. There is no parking in the front of it. So I don't know what happens in the back. I would almost think that before I vote on it, I'd like to take a look at it and see exactly what your plans are, where you're going with this thing, and can I pull my truck in there to unload? So I think that they are my biggest concerns. To fix that old building up, I think is a wonderful idea. It just is the right spot. I don't know. Does it bring some taxes to the city? I don't know about that either. I know it doesn't bring any employment to the city, but it does bring some tax money, I would hope. And then I think my biggest concern is the parking to pull in. It's really tough. So if they fix that problem, I would be probably more in favor of it.
Well, they'd be meeting the regulations on parking, or they wouldn't be able to do anything in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Absolutely. And as far as unloading and loading when people bring in their furniture, that used to be the whole front of it is a loading dock. I'm sure they'll just set aside a portion of it so as to not interrupt the rest of the building, but that goes to another department, not here. Anything else, any commission members, before I go to Commissioner Botello? Not hearing anything from any other new commission members. Commissioner Botello.
Yes, thank you for the floor, Chairman. Basically, I want to speak to all the commissioners to remind us that we are the zoning commission, which part of our job is to protect what is there. And the fact is that you can say anything about possibly making changes, but once again, this is in the CG20 district, which is very limited in the city. And once again, it behooves us to protect what the CG20 is. And once again, I'll read it. The zoning for a CG20 represent a limited and valuable commercial land resources intended to support commercial, employment generating, and economic development uses. when you go into self-storage, you're going to have 2-3 people possibly working there, maybe. This is not what the CG20 has in mind. It's not the best and highest use for it, which I don't have to say that, but the fact is that CG20 being limited is that there are other things that can be done there. And if you could use the CG20 the way it's supposed to be, it'll be generating more, it'll be better for the income for taxes, as well as hopefully employing more people. But that's what CG20 is all about, is to get more employment and to be able to be commercially supporting. And having a blank building with just warehousing or with self-storage is not what the CG20 was intended for. And that's our job as the policemen, to make sure that this is adhered to. I just want people to realize that, don't forget, we're talking about the CG20 and what it's permissible and not permissible.
Thank you. Commission members. Any, Commissioner O'Neill?
It's existing warehouse though. Like, I don't see that as a big income generator the way that it is either.
I'm sorry, say again. What do you mean?
It's an existing warehouse? Like Commissioner Vitello
Well, right now it's
something
vacant.
about, but it had been a warehouse.
Yeah, it's been.
Well, there's no reason why it couldn't be converted to a CG20 application, which would be for commercial and be able to, it has the ability, I mean, for many different uses in CG20.
Well, I couldn't see storefronts there. If you take a look at the building, it's lifted up off of the road. You know, when people walk into storefronts, they want to get out of their car and walk into a storefront. This is raised up chest high. You know, hey, you know what? Look, I haven't given my opinion yet. When I saw this application come in, if I can't, well, let's finish up here. Commissioner O'Neill and Commissioner Botello, you guys have some words. Are you finished, or do you want to continue on? Commissioner O'Neill, you all set?
All set.
Okay. When I saw the petition come in, I'm saying, what the heck are we going to do here? You know, to be very frank, the petition looks ugly on paper because we just got finished getting rid of these things. But when you take a look at the property as mixed use, and you take a look at the history of the property, and you take a look at what they can do here, yeah, there's 52 permitted uses in there, but I don't think anybody's going to put in a 18,675 square foot ice cream parlor. There's a lot of stuff in those permitted uses that just isn't not going to go in that brick building. And I know that they marketed it to try and rent it out as a warehouse space, but they also tried to market the Matrix building up there. It had low ceilings and it was an old 1980s building, and it took the zoning commission to get creative and reuse and re-regulation to get that up and running, and it's fully functional and filled and paying nice taxes to the city. You know, like I said, on paper, the petition doesn't look good, but listening to the public hearing and reading all of the documents and getting everybody's opinion on this thing here, it's and the POCD, it encourages flexibility as the market changes. And this is narrow enough that it's not going to be widespread throughout the community, and it's using an existing building where the structure and the character of that building is not going to change. It's going to remain the same from the appearance standpoint. These warehouses that we denied were 600, 700, 800 units, and they're in big, ugly, freestanding buildings. The most they're going to do here is 15,000 square feet. Which they're allowed to do 18,600, but the building is only 15,000. So if you break that down, they're going to have, and if they have some larger units other than a 10 by 10, it's going to be less than 125, 140 units, maybe 150 max at a 10 by 10. Then you got to back out of it hall space and common space. So it's not going to be a big, gigantic facility. It's not going to have major parking and drive-throughs, because these, as Attorney Peters said, not many people visit their couches that often. I have furniture in storage, and I haven't seen my furniture from the house that I sold in 10 months. I'm not interested in visiting it, so it doesn't get much traffic. When petitions like this come in, and a petitioner says, I've tried to try and market it, I don't really know how hard they've tried, and if this is just a ruse to change the petitioner to get the higher and best use out of it. But if you followed the market, that's just not a rentable building unless you do something creative. And you know, it looks like he did his homework. He's called in a company that retrofits these things, and I don't know. There's as many reasons to say yes as there is to say no, I suppose. So we'll find out what the outcome is shortly. Director.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
to add, just one point to add, when you were talking about all what they did to try to get a tenant, I know for sure our city's economic development advisor, Mr. Farley Santos, he was involved and he couldn't, like, it didn't work out. He tried to help the folks secure somebody who might be interested in a lease, but as far as I know, when talking to him, nobody was interested. So I know that they did the homework and they tried more than once to find somebody willing to enter into a long-term lease, but unfortunately, it did not work out.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm not putting any words in the owner's mouth, but I wouldn't be surprised if they had possible tenants for that there was other constraints to the parcel. So I see that in one of the permitted uses is a restaurant. So that would be a really cutesy Norwalky type of brick building and put a nice fancy restaurant in there. And there's nobody going to be able to park there because of the way it's set up. Parking for self-storage works because it's not intensive. So I don't know. I'm just throwing out my ideas here. And I usually like to speak last to not influence anybody else here. But, you know, I asked and asked and asked for what's on people's minds. And I think I squeezed you all enough. So that's why I took a position on it. Any other discussion on this?
Eddie, I would have to agree with you. I think the only reason why we're discussing this, you know, in a negative way is because of what we did in October. Had we not done that in what we did in October, it'd be done. The reality is they're literally looking to repurpose a building. The parking is very limited. It's a very narrow area. The traffic going in and out is going to be limited. So for all of those reasons, I would have to say this is the proper thing for the city of Danbury. With the only negative is our decision we made in October. So,
Yeah.
We've got to look at it and say, hey, what do we really have here? We have an old building that can be repurposed. And I think it's a good thing. And I think we have to, swallow the pill and say, okay, as long as we're not going to, promote multiple problems throughout the city, I'm sorry, I have to say this is a good thing to repurpose the building.
Just
Yeah.
wanted,
It's funny because if we didn't have October's actions, we may have been looking at this petition totally differently tonight.
Exactly.
Commissioner Botello.
Yes,
another
but-
thing too, this is going to be a single level. It's not going to be a multi-level facility either. So it's all going to be all on one floor. I'm sorry, Commissioner Botello.
That's okay. But the fact is that we did come to an agreement and an understanding in October. And with all due respect to Mr. Nijem, it was an important decision and it was well-founded. And I think this application is undermining what we did, and I still steadfast on that we did the right thing, and we do have an oversupply, and it's just something that we need to not push and not leave a door slightly open. So this is going to happen other places, and this could happen. I mean, it might be limited, but it opens the door. Well, if you did it for them, it's a possibility. Why can't you do it for me? And if we did it for 5 acres, why can't you do it for 3 acres? We were steadfast on that decision, and it was a good one, and I want to stand by that. And the fact is that it's a CG20, and that's our job, to protect the zone, and this is not protecting the zone.
Now, don't lose sight of the fact that if somebody comes in and says you did it for 5, why can't you do it for 3? We always reserve the right to say no. Okay,
No, that's true. That's true. But once
So don't
again,
forget about that.
no.
You know,
But
because
other-
we had that conversation on Crown Plaza. If another hotel comes in and says, wait a minute, you did it on 6 acres, we have 5.4, can you drop it to 5? The answer is we can always say no. So listen, and Commissioner Botello, there's a lot of reasons why we did what we did in October. We did it because they're big, ugly buildings, and we also did it because we want to preserve some CA80 land for something other than in many storage facilities. You know, so by removing it from the regulations, we did it for several reasons, not just one, not because they were overpopulating it. That was just one of them. The other one was if you remove it from the regulation, that means the next guy that's got a CA80 piece of property is going to do something more CA80-ish instead of another mini warehouse. So, you know, I totally agree with what we did in October, and I think it was unanimous, and we were strong and firm, and it was a great it was a great change to the regulation. Commissioner O'Neill.
I want to say to Commissioner Patel that I do totally agree that the decision that we made in October was right for the right reasons. But I just disagree that this is not the same thing. This is not visible from the road. It's in a pre-existing building. It's just,
Agreed.
if we had a word in the regulations to call it something different, it would be something different. It's just never been defined before. No one's asked to maybe do it before. So I don't see it. I understand that it can look bad, like we're going back on something we just did. I fully understand that, but I don't feel like that's what we're doing here. I think we're making the town better and doing something important for Danbury. And I know you're talking about the commercial zone and taking away from the commercial zone, but it's not producing anything right now the way it is either. And by retrofitting it, I think it's something positive. And I think it has the way that Attorney Beecher wrote it, that there's very little impact from future people being able to replicate this situation. Just my thoughts.
Thank you. Director, you had your hand raised.
Chairman, one
Yes.
point here. One thing I would like to point out, what we did back in October, yes, it has some relation with what we have. However, it's different. What we have, this application is for a CG 20 zone. We did not touch that zone back in October. So self-storage was never allowed in CG 20 in October or before October. What we did back in October was CA80. I just don't want things to be mixed up.
Correct. That's right. Okay, thank you. Commission members, anything else? Anybody else have any comments? Anybody else have any comments? Okay, so this is where it gets confusing. So there's a motion on the floor to deny with reasons, and there's a second to that motion. So we're going to do a roll call, and a yes means no. So in other words, if you vote yes, you're in favor of denying the petition. If you vote yes, you're in favor of denying the petition. If you vote no, you're against the motion to deny. So when I do a roll call, the motion maker, Commissioner Botello, if he's still on his position, he would be voting yes to deny the petition. All right, does everybody understand that? Everybody unmute. Everyone unmute your mics, and we're going to do a roll call.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
so if this motion doesn't carry,
Then we got to hold ball away.
right, then we gotta go the other way. I just wanted to make sure that. we're
Absolutely.
all- Okay.
Yep. Yep. So that's why I said it gets a little complicated. We'll see what happens. Commissioner Botello, a yes
Yes.
to deny.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So, whoops, where are you? Commissioner Botello is yes to deny. Commissioner O'Loughlin,
No.
Commissioner Bennett,
No.
Commissioner Hall,
No.
Commissioner James,
No.
Commissioner Nejing,
No.
Commissioner O'Neill,
No.
Commissioner Fuchs.
No.
1, 2, 3. I will vote no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this motion to deny gets defeated, 8-1. Now, that does not mean that the petition is approved. Someone needs to make a motion to approve the petition, and then it still has to get 6 votes. Correct? Everybody understand that? Has to be a supermajority. So the motion to deny gets defeated. Is there anyone who want to make a motion to approve this petition? Does anyone want to make a motion to approve the petition?
I'll make a motion, Teddy, but you can give the analogy.
Give me 2 seconds. Salem petition number 2, number 1. This is a motion to approve. It's a motion to approve by Attorney Nejame. Is in for Jody. I got another piece of paper here I have to mark up here. Sorry, hold on 1 second. Nejame.
You're talking about Commissioner Nejame.
Okay,
not
so there's a motion to approve by Attorney Nejame. I'm sorry, Director.
No, I'm not an
He's
attorney.
not an attorney.
Oh, what did I call you, Attorney Nejame? I'll
Yes.
be damned. No. We've known each other since we were 6 years old. He's not an Attorney Nejame. I'm sorry about that.
I dig swimming pools.
A motion to approve by Commissioner Nejame. And Commissioner Nejame, you might want to consider some reasons for that.
And I was hoping you'd help me with that.
Well, I'll put some out there, and you're going to have to say if you like them or you don't like them. But I would say that the plan of conservation and development encourages flexibility as the market changes, adding new life to existing buildings. It will not have a detrimental effect on health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood. It is narrow enough to not sweep to other sites and properties throughout the city of Danbury CG20 zones. It will not change the existing structure or appearance of the existing structure. Does any of those sound good to you? You want to strike
Excellent.
any of them, or do you want to accept those?
Perfect.
Perfect.
Yes.
Does anybody want to make a second to that motion to approve with the reasons as stated? Does
I'll
anybody-
I
second it.
will.
Second by Commissioner James, is that correct?
Yes.
Is there anyone that feels as though they want to add more reasons to the approval? And we'll see if to the motion. Okay, a yes is yes to approve it, and a no is no. Commissioner Nejame,
Yes.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Commissioner Bennett,
Yes.
Commissioner Hall,
Yes.
Commissioner Fuchs,
Yes.
Commissioner Botello,
No.
Commissioner O'Laughlin,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8-1 the other way. This petition is approved.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you and good luck to you.
Good luck with it.
Thank you for your time.
Good luck.
Thank you, guys. And ladies, I apologize.
You better watch yourself.
I can't help it. I'm sorry.
You'll be all over social media nowadays.
Never been on it and never will. Thank the Lord. For me, anyway.
Commission members, there's nothing under new business. There's nothing under correspondence. There's nothing under for reference only. Ms. Reed, anything you want to add? Has anything new come in since this was typed up? No. Director, you have any final comments before I go to other matters?
Not really. I
Yeah.
sent you guys a document just whenever I sent all of you a document just whenever you have time. Look at it. It's part of what we need to look at when we look at the zoning changes because of the new state requirements.
Got it.
If you have,
Send
yeah,
that to
go ahead.
everybody.
yeah, when you have a time, just look at it. If anything jumps out at you, let me know.
You're also going to let us know if there's any meetings on that coming up,
Yes.
anything like that. Right now, there's no meetings scheduled.
We should have a workshop once I have time to talk to a Corporation Council, because the idea is to have what I sent to you after, revising it along with the mandate from the state all done at once. And this should be done by July 1st.
Great. Thank
You
you.
know about this that we discussed, it's the housing requirements and the middle housing, which is 2 units or 9 units, has to be actually allowed in any commercially zoned land, along with so many other changes that we have to adopt by July 1st. And
Right.
if we do, the city will not qualify for any funding from the state.
Thank you. Commission members, anything else? Commission, let me throw this out there under other matters. Tonight, in my opinion, was the right way to run a meeting. Not run a meeting, to conduct a meeting. Everybody put their input in. We had a good, healthy debate. There was some fantastic arguments on each side. I thank the motion makers for both of them for making their motions with their reasons. And we had some great discussion. If we could do that on every petition, I think it's good, it's healthy, it's taking 9 people, separate, different people elected by the people to give their own opinions on things and to come up with a nice consensus that hopefully makes, forgetting about making the meetings go easier, but to make Danbury better. Attorney Beecher, I see that you're still on here. That was an excellent presentation. You brought up an awful lot of points to not only remind the existing commission members of our past actions, but to let the new members that haven't been here, give them a little history as to how this commission operates, what's in our mind and what's our historical data. And so that was great effort on your part. And thank you for that, because when an attorney can come up with a solid presentation, it helps us to say yes, and it helps us to say no. Sometimes they don't always get their way, but it's very, very helpful to get all of the facts in front of us with exhibits, documents, and presentations. So I'm full of thanks tonight. Thank you. Anything else? Is there anything else under other matters? Any other matters?
No.
Any other matters? Commissioner Bennett, you had a comment?
No, I just said, no, nothing else.
Okay, Commissioner Botello, you had your hand up?
I was going to make a motion to adjourn if you're ready for it.
That's it. I'm
There
ready.
you go.
Motion by Commissioner Botello to adjourn. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Novus. We got you in here on a second. Good job. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those
Aye.
opposed, we are adjourned at 8:37. Thank you, everyone.
Good night,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good job, guys.
Good night.
Good meeting.